And welcome to Get the Table, another wrestling roundtable discussion podcast with myself, Adam Wilborn, Andy Murray, and Gareth Morgan here to discuss another burning wrestling issue. But before we get into it, if you're a fan of this sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from, for daily wrestling podcasts where we review Raw, SmackDown, the Wednesday Night War between AEW and NXT, pay-per-views. We have interviews, more roundtable discussions like this one, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on WrestleCulture. But as I said, I'm joined by Gareth and Andy to discuss a rather hot button issue, let's be perfectly honest, today.
The thing that happened last night.
Indeed, the return of CM Punk to WWE. Already a lot of people speculating online as to where things go from here. So Andy Murray, just start us off. Should he return to the ring, and could he return to the ring?
I think Phil Brooks should only return to the ring if he's absolutely 100% happy with that decision, because as we know, by the time he left WWE, he was absolutely miserable. He was deep in a depression. He has done nothing but shoot on it for the best part of 5 years until earlier this year when his tune started changing. So, like, to say whether or not he should, from the company's point of view, obviously he should, because it would do great business. From his point, from a fan's perspective, yes, I think like 90% of the wrestling world would love to see that. But from his perspective, I think he needs to just make a very careful life decision. And I'm sure he will. He's a very smart guy, very well thought out guy.
It's interesting because, you know, the moment we saw what happened on WWE backstage and it spread around the internet like wildfire, fans weren't saying, oh, this is great that he's doing something akin to what he did when he was on commentary back in the day in WWE, or that he's going to be on this show or on Fox or whatever. The leap was instant to when will he step back between those ropes. What do you think? Would you like to see him back wrestling?
We just get carried away too quickly, don't we? Can we just not just enjoy the fact that he's back? He's back on a television show that is under the WWE banner. He's not necessarily in business with WWE directly, as we found out. Fox are the company that he is in most contact with, and it's through Fox that this has actually happened. I think if it was WWE kind of offering out the olive branch, I don't think he would have necessarily gone straight back. I think because he's, in terms of creative control and the rest of it, being held under this lovely Fox banner where he can do whatever the hell he wants, really, and he's going to shoot from the hip. I think he's in complete control of his destiny for a change in WWE, and I think we're going to see a rejuvenated Punk in that sense. When he started out, I got a bit of defiance there. I'll be honest. I got a guy with a point to prove. He not necessarily coming straight back and say, right, I'm going to call out all these wrestlers. They've got this great platform to start off all these programs. I think he's just going to come back. And like he mentioned in one of his interviews before he actually did return, he did mention that if he was to come on the show, he wanted to give an honest opinion. He's not just going to sugarcoat things. He's not just going to be a company man and just wax lyrically about the brilliance of WWE right now, because that would be lying at times. But yeah, I'm excited. But just let him be there. Let him be there. Let him have a minute. And let's just enjoy Punk being back for a change.
Indeed. Before we move on to discussing when he will be stepping between the ropes and who he will be facing or who we'd like to see him face, before we get to all that, let's talk about how this situation not only affects him, but affects WWE. This is a huge coup for them, even if he never does wrestle again.
Yeah, this is a super interesting situation with so many different onion layers you can peel back and analyze, and we'll try and do as many of them justice here as possible. But I think, like, on a surface level, immediately Backstage's ratings should go through the roof. I mean, the show drew 49,000 fans last week. That's literally, and this isn't a brag, it's literally the reality of the situation. That is literally half what the article Michael Hamflett wrote about it last week was. What's going on there? That's insane. But, you know, CM Punk, obviously, huge name. He's going to attract people to that product and hopefully make it a little bit more viable.
Like you said, you tweeted immediately afterwards when you found out about it, like, you were all going to watch it now just for that.
Yeah. I've never watched a second of this show until this thing showed up. So there you go. That's the immediate power of it. But I think we're about to enter a really interesting situation because, as Gareth pointed out, the contract is with Fox. However, CM Punk is going to be on what is essentially a WWE product shooting on Raw and SmackDown, presumably. I think that's going to lead to a really interesting situation where WWE start going, maybe this isn't such a great idea after all. So it'll be cool to see how they kind of clash with Fox over that. If Vince decides we don't want this anymore, we need to get rid of him, but Fox are like, hey, no, this is really good for our business and we've got a contract. So there's a really interesting situation behind the scenes. But I do think as well, these things kind of reverberate around the whole product, to NXT, to Raw, to SmackDown. I do think we'll see a little spike, at least for now, in general interest for the product as a whole. Until, like, I guess the worst case scenario is that Punk slots in and he's just a corporate yes man. I don't think he's going to be that. But if that happens, all the benefits kind of fade away, don't they?
This may just be me clutching at straws and looking at CM Punk through rose-tinted glasses, but he always talked about being the catalyst for change within the WWE, of course. And as Andy points out there, if you have a straight shooter on a show like that on Fox, where the big money, I know they have got a big deal with the USA Network as well, obviously they've got Saudi Arabia and etc., but the big money deal is with Fox. And if you have someone on there who will criticize the product when it's poor, is there any way that having that voice on there makes them legitimately take a step back, finally, and think, right, is this feud, this concept, this storyline, whatever, is this a good idea? Because they know now, whereas previously, and this is casting no aspersions on any other WWE employees, they knew that probably people would toe the party line, aside from, say, X-Pac on Watch Along, where he was like, what the bloody hell's this, a Hell in a Cell?
Oh, I need to see CM Punk on a Watch Along.
Is there any way that means that the WWE has at least a second thought about some of the stuff that they do that's been dreadful?
I'm conflicted on that, because if WWE had made, if it was a purely WWE decision to bring Punk back and then the ball was in their court, possibly they'd listen to fan reception and the rest of it, and all this momentum that's already started to gather after hours, they'd probably be more inclined to listen to it. Because it's probably more of a Fox decision and not theirs. They didn't even have the balls to tag the guy in the tweet that they sent out about it, as Renee Young mentioned on Twitter. So I don't know. I can't see them, out of pure arrogance and stubbornness, I can't see them wanting to back any potential feud for Punk. I mean, literally the only way that this would come into fruition is if Punk himself kind of stepped out and asked WWE outright, I would like to get back in the ring, and then they'd be silly not to.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
money. But I don't, my heart says yes, my head says not going to happen.
Andy Murray, in brief terms, how on earth did this happen? Because as we mentioned before we came in here, if you'd have taken 2015 me and shown me an image of CM Punk front and center on a WWE program, flanked by Samoa Joe and Adam Cole,
What a faction.
I think my head would have exploded, first of all. But, I mean, you know, we sat here and we listened to his Q&A at StarCast, and we all remember that infamous podcast with Colt Cabana, and yet here we are.
Yeah, money. It's money, isn't it? I think CM Punk, after the various legal battles he's had over the past few years, and, you know, with the UFC career not kind of working out as he'd hoped, and various other things not really coming to fruition, maybe he just wanted a slice of that sweet Scrooge McDuck. Now, I don't want to throw out money as the be-all, end-all, because that's such a cynical explainer, but, you know, it's part of it here. There is a possibility that maybe Punk just wanted to come in and have a wider voice and be the voice of the voiceless again, and kind of like be a TV personality, because he's always said he really enjoys doing the MMA commentary and so forth, and the analysis that he does on a much smaller scale than this. Perhaps he just wanted to take his career in that aspect of entertainment to the next level. That's what I certainly hope it is.
Do you think he still thoroughly loves wrestling? I think that's a big part to play in this decision.
It's kind of a hard one to say, because we've seen little signs that he does, showing up in the indie shows with a little mask, doing the go to sleeps and doing StarCast and all these other things. But at the same time, the man has done nothing but kind of tear wrestling apart in interviews since leaving WWE. So I think that there's probably something little just clawing away at him. He's probably got a little itch somewhere in there he wants to scratch. But I think he just loves, you know, shooting from the hip a little bit too much as well.
It's a little bit the best of the both worlds here for CM Punk, because I'm inclined to agree that there's an element of a John Moxley about him, that he was, when he left, obviously there was obviously opportunities elsewhere. It's not like AEW is now the only place you can go and was the only place you could go prior to that. I just felt like he was burnt out completely, far more so than John Moxley, it seems. Obviously, Moxley came back from injury and was itching to get back in the ring, but we've heard him talk about it recently when he did that interview with Jim Ross, indeed, talking about the fact that he suddenly became disheartened when he realised what he was coming back to. Now, WWE themselves and many fans, there's not a great deal of crossover between MMA and wrestling fans, obviously had a go at him for transitioning to UFC and being given headline spots despite having a complete
He deserved
no
it.
record.
He drew people.
Yeah, he deserved
He's
it. Yeah.
bigger star than anybody else in the company in that card.
And at the end of the day, I think it was Joe Rogan who made this point, but the argument is always, well, if you wanted to try your hand at being an MMA fighter, granted, as much as it'd probably make more sense to start off in the minor leagues and slowly build yourself up, if someone's going to throw that sort of money at you and put you front and center in a UFC,
You take it, don't you? You don't.
and
walk
now he
away
gets
from
to
a
go
deal like
back,
that.
and whether or not it's money related, whether or not, like you say, it's a deeper passion for the product. He's kind of done everything he's wanted to, and now he can return, like you say, on his terms.
And hone a new craft. Yeah, like I think it's the worst case, but it would also be the most fun case to see play out. Is that he really still has an axe to grind with this company, and he's just coming on what is technically a WWE show to just destroy everything verbally.
hilarious.
It would be so much fun to watch, wouldn't it? Like
Gets out like a Chris Jericho list of 1,004 holds, 1,004
Yeah.
complaints.
actually burning it down every single week. Could be
Do I
great.
have your attention now?
Right, let's get into the realms of fantasy booking, as we often do here at WhatCulture Wrestling. For argument's sake, CM Punk is returning to the ring, let's just say.
You heard it here first. It's
Yes,
happening.
when would you have him step between the ropes? Because the options are quite varying. You've got Survivor Series in a week and a half. You've got the Rumble. I mean, for God's sake, if they haven't already, and it's not Punk, they really need to get someone good for the number 30 slot because that's going to be a nightmare
Rey
otherwise.
Mysterio territory.
Yes. And then there's WrestleMania or the Raws and SmackDowns after WrestleMania. Where would you have him if it is going to happen?
I hadn't thought about the Rumble spot until you mentioned it earlier, and now I can't see anything past that. Really, I can't. It's just perfect. I mean, it's one of those things where fans are already speculating about it now, and we kind of saw this in his entrance to WWE backstage. Fans had started to speculate that it could be happening. He'd even kind of fueled the fire a little bit, and then it all went quiet. And just when you least expected it, boom, they brought him back out. The fact that we are already speculating that it could happen at the Rumble. WWE are the kind of company just to swerve us in spite of themselves. So I'd like that. That sounds like incredible booking because it is incredibly easy to book WWE. But I don't know. I'd say, yeah, I'd like that. I'd like the Royal Rumble decision. I think that's where I'd bring him out.
Because,
definitely.
people were instantly booking him into feuds and what have you. And the criticism we always used to have when we talked about CM Punk returning was the danger of either normalizing him, i.e. having him wrestle week after week after week and damaging what is this golden goose of theirs. But on the other hand, him becoming a little bit of a hypocrite because he always criticised Brock Lesnar or, part-timers coming in. But for me, as much as it's hypocritical of him to do it, I would retain him for like the big four. And for God's sake, not the Saudi Arabia shows, but the big four.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I don't care if it's massively hypocritical or whatever. I just want to see fun stuff on TV. So yeah, no, give me that. Hook that straight to my veins.
And you were one of the people who, quite fairly, to be honest, pointed out that it's not lackluster because the wrestling internet is talking about it. But in terms of a return, 5 people clapping in a studio isn't quite what you'd expect to see CM Punk return to the
Paige had the
WWE.
biggest reaction.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah, kind of like walking into a studio at midnight on a show 50,000 people watch. It's not quite the same as walking out at number 30 in the Rumble or WrestleMania, is
close.
it?
But having said that, if you want to have both in terms of the TV impact and then the huge pop, it doesn't get much bigger than number 30 in the Rumble, does it?
Number 30 is absolutely perfect.
And then you can lead to WrestleMania.
Yeah, my worry with that would be that, say he was booked for this year's WrestleMania, say something was coming up, I'm pretty sure they would try and book him against Triple H.
Oh, for God's sake.
Right?
Stubbornness striking again.
It just seems like the kind of thing they do, right? And, they would probably do some kind of CM Punk versus corporate storyline because Triple H's office and all this. Maybe Triple H takes away his number 1 contenders match for winning the Rumble, and he has one of those awful Triple H WrestleMania matches. Really, for me, the most compelling match is it's a default answer to this. Anytime one of these who do you want to see returning person face things comes up, but it's Daniel Bryan because the guy's a wrestling genius. He's the one guy in the entire company who could carry anything to a really good match. This pair of glasses, 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome. It's just Daniel Bryan. They had a classic match in 2011, 2012 on pay-per-view. Loved it. Ring of Honor style submission, striking battle, really good stuff. I know Daniel Bryan's not the biggest blockbuster name or whatever, but goddamn, would you rather watch that or Triple H doing a chin lock for 5 minutes leading to a sledgehammer spot? Like, no.
I see your Daniel Bryan and raise you WWE backstage entering their own team into the Survivor.
5 on 5 on 5 on 5.
Booker T.
Renee Young.
Oh yeah,
Samoa Joe with his big thumb.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
That's what I want.
But I mean, the few before we get into the more feuds, actually, one other thing that I thought about this, and this is surreal, that with all the furor around CM Punk, one of the big things I want to know is, could AJ Lee come back? Because I really would love to see her back in the WWE. As much I'm having my cake and eating it too now, but she was fantastic back in the day and would slot in perfectly.
Why the hell not? I mean, for years we hoped and dreamed that this would become a possibility, and now it's there on a plate for us. So if it was ever going to happen, this kind of move would be the move that was going to open the door for that to happen. So she would slot in brilliantly into the division right now. She's probably God, I'm just thinking of the potential straight away. The matches with Becky, Sasha, they brought Ronda, but it's just that's. I didn't think it was a no-brainer, but yes, it's a no-brainer now. That needs to happen.
And in terms of Punk, any other feud? I mean, take your pick, really, from the roster. Yeah. Seth Rollins, for example, has tweeted that he'd love to have a match with him. Thoughts?
You can't wait for that one, right? Take my money. Yeah. I think Seth's just trying to drum up any form of buzz he can right now, bless him. But there's the obvious, the Fiend one. We were just talking about how the many routes they could go down there. Like, Punk's been away for 6 years, comes back. Hey, what's the landscape? No, what the heck is that? Like, that's a brilliant. I'd just take my money again. Lesnar, they could do.
That's a really fascinating one there, isn't there?
Because there's already a brilliant promo there from Paul Heyman of, "Here's my beast incarnate UFC champion. What did you do in UFC again?"
There you go. Ready made.
Sell.
And that could arguably build into the to the Royal Rumble if we book it the way we're booking it.
Yeah. He go to NXT. He graced it once against. Was he tagging with Rollins or did he face Rollins? I always forget. NXT.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there was definitely an involvement with the two of each. I mean, obviously, any superstar will probably be tweeting, "I'll have a match with you." You're not going to say no to something like that, are you?
It's the equivalent of somebody in the UFC. It's the equivalent of McGregor coming back to the UFC.
Yeah,
everyone's going to throw their name into that hat because money. But I don't know. There's too many to pick at this point. But yeah, for me, I quite like the Fiend or Lesnar.
Yeah. One name I saw mentioned bouncing around on social media today was one AJ Styles.
AJ Styles is another one, like Daniel Bryan, a guy who could probably get a really good match out of a broomstick. So yeah, like, I'm not saying Punk's a broomstick, obviously, but he's been out of the game for so long, and he's, lost a lot of muscle mass competing in the UFC and so forth. Styles is another really good one. I do think that Styles compared to Bryan is a little bit more past his prime. AJ isn't really going out there and having the rippers that he used to have when he came through into WWE and previously in his career as well. But yeah, just another great professional wrestler who knows exactly what the hell he's doing and would help Mr. Phil Brooks to a tremendous match.
And with that, if he was to feud with AJ, AJ's got the OC, that opens the door for a Punk stable, potentially a straight edge society version.
He could steal Luke Gallows back. Yeah.
Already he's got his head shaved, so it's fine.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect.
Solid. I don't know any other names that are bleeping out. I mean, Finn Balor's another really obvious one.
This version of Balor, the new NXT, old NXT version.
Yeah, the promo battles there would be absolutely stupendous. A guy like Adam Cole, I think that's an easy choice as well. But close that you could show him in the two of them, well, they both are really, so that would be quite the spectacle. I'm looking at specifically, like, when I break this down, like, guys like real technical masters, guys who can piece a match together like no one else. So that's why AJ and Daniel Bryan come to mind. But like someone who I don't think gets enough credit for how well he pieces a match together, particularly when it comes to like spacing out his big spots so they're really impactful when they hit. I was about to do his motion there. Is Roman Reigns.
That's another name that's bouncing around. I mean, I don't think you can put them two together because that's how you literally murder Roman. Yeah, that's incredible. He's very over with the audience now.
That's how you end Roman Reigns' career. But I think it would be a really fun match. Like Reigns is a guy who still in 2019 doesn't get the credit I think he deserves. And I'm just a fanboy for the guy, so I'd like to see it.
Finally, how long do you see this partnership going on for?
About 3 weeks.
Well, he's back on Tuesday. We know that much. Yeah. We've got 1 week out of it.
we've got a show. I think that, realistically speaking, like looking at the viewership and stuff for this show, I don't know how much longer it's going to last. I think that will be a factor. But I also think that I almost called him Pac. CM Punk will know that, yes, he wants to go out there and he wants to speak his truth and spread his word about what he thinks of the WWE product. But I think he realizes he's probably going to have to rein in his truth laws. Like, he's not going to come on the air just a little bit. He's not going to come on the air and start swearing and going, this is bollocks and this is rubbish, blah, 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 blah. I think he realizes that professionally, if he wants to advance his career in this field, and it seems like he does, that he may have to temper things just a little bit. So I honestly think he'll be with the show for the duration, but I think the duration of the show is about 2 or 3 months.
And as a result of that, if other opportunities are going to come up, maybe to sort of encourage that transition onto TV, commentary,
or I'd quite like a pipe bomb TV show, similar to what we get with the Broken Skull Austin show. Punk would be a fantastic host.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him shoot the breeze with many a star. Commentary could be a great option as well, but then the closer you put him towards a ring,
yes,
fans are just gonna, if somebody bumps into him, they have to have a match. It's just, it lends itself to that, which I'm not against. Obviously, I want that, but it's whether Punk wants that. And he was fantastic on commentary. With that run, was it 2011?
Yeah, something around
run.
there.
He was the best part of Raw for most weeks. So I wouldn't be against that. It's a good path for him to go down, but I'm not sure if Punk would want to go there.
Bring back the new Nexus. Do you know what my prediction is for the rest of this week? Friday Night SmackDown, Baron Corbin comes out as cult of personality.
Oh no! And then cuts one of his little dog promos. Can you imagine?
Just I think the main thing to take away is we you know it's a very exciting time for CM Punk in WWE. But if you were who WWE was planning to bring out at number 30 of the Royal Rumble, God help you right now.
Yeah, they better have something up their sleeve.
Dolph Ziggler, another time. Going to go away for 2 weeks before. Right, let us know your thoughts on the future of CM Punk in the WWE in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Whilst you're there, you can follow Andy at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for HM Punk, obviously.
You can follow Gareth at
GMorgan04. It's got a number at the end.
You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at What Culture WWE. But for now, this has been Get the Table. My thanks to Andy and to Gareth. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.